I feel like the prices of coffee shouldn't fluctuate that much. I mean,
Right.
a farm cannot, 1 year you're gonna get $1.25 per
Hmm.
pound. Next year it's gonna be 250, and the next year after that is gonna be 140. I mean, how do you do all this? How do you pay
Yeah.
the right way or the right amount to the people?
Welcome to the Daily Coffee Pro by Mappa Forward, friends. I'm your host, Lee Safar, and this is episode 1 of a new 5-part series with Ana Vizcaino from Two Birds Coffee. Anna, welcome to the podcast for the first time.
Thank you for having me.
It's my absolute pleasure. This has been far too many years in the making. We have been talking with your boys for years now since they came on the podcast to have you on the podcast. And a lot of people have said to me, no, it's great that you got the boys on, but you really got to get their mum on the podcast. So this is going to be a really wonderful conversation. We're talking about the challenges of solving problems at Origin. Before we do that, we're going to scald your boys. First of all, to everybody, this is being recorded the week of Thanksgiving. And how did you spend Thanksgiving?
We spend it with my friends.
Why didn't you spend it with your boys?
I wasn't invited.
Pancho Diego, I'm so disappointed in you.
Sorry, the little table at Thanksgiving is a big table now, and so I'm at the little table in Florida with my friends.
Boys, there's always room for mum. You should remember that for next time, and I'm going to make it a point to make sure I check that mum's invited next year. It was so funny when you told me they didn't invite you. Jesus, guys, come on now. There's always room for mum. Especially this mum, because the things that you're focusing on in the industry are really above and beyond what most people that are in the industry are thinking about. And when you and I were kind of prepping for what we want to talk about in this series, I got to tell you, my jaw dropped when we were having that conversation, and then when I started researching some of the things that you had told me. And I suspect that as we start to go through this series, and as people start listening to what we're going to talk about in this series, they're going to realize that they really have no idea of what challenging means to a producer. We think we know what challenging means to a producer. And yes, coffee leaf rust is challenging. Berry borer beetle is challenging. But some of the things that you have told me about blew my mind away. And in this episode, we're going to talk about the challenges that are associated with the labor force for producers. So tell me, in your mind, what is the general problem associated with labor for coffee producers?
I think it's a very all the problems that we're going to talk about, I think, are so big, are so enormous, that it's really hard to pinpoint one thing. Well, for me, the worst is, I think, started since forever in Guatemala, especially. I can tell you that people are not happy with their jobs because they don't earn enough. Even though they look, Guatemalan people are very happy people. They are always smiling. They are super loving. They are very generous with their time, the love. But they do not have the basics. They don't have health, safety, or they don't have savings. They don't have good schooling. Their basics, they are not covered by anybody, and they cannot do it on their own. There's not a government supporting them, saying there's a hospital, there's a public hospital, come here. Even though you have to make a line, because it's a public hospital, you will get your ibuprofen or your family planning or whatever. It doesn't matter.
They don't have access to that in Guatemala? Okay.
People don't.
Let's contrast that for a second. Help us understand where you sit in Guatemala. What do you do in Guatemala?
What do I do?
Yeah. Help people understand. So you're not the labor force, you're employing the labor force. So help people understand what you do.
As a producer, you mean?
Yeah. So you're a producer, you have a farm.
Yeah, I have a farm that is not big compared to other farms, but it's not little compared to the small lots. Okay, so I'm kind of in the middle of it. I produce coffee, more or less 2 containers a year.
How many people do you employ?
Yeah, I had like between 25 employees.
Right.
When it's harvest, I have like 60, maybe 30 families extra.
Right.
Just for the.
Wow.
And what happens when they pick is the harvest is November to February. November to January. Those 3 months are the most important ones. And depending on the area of Guatemala, but where I am is November, December, January is the biggest part, the peak, let's say.
Okay.
And Guatemala, for the picking, what happens is that it's the end of the year at school because it's harvest time, right? That's how it started. So our year goes from January to November. And we have November, December off from school. So when they come to pick, all the family comes.
Yeah.
Children, the abuelita, the uncles, everybody, and they come as a whole.
Yeah.
And so they pick, and then they are paid by the weight, by how much they picked that day.
Okay.
So they are paid daily. And if some families pick like 300 pounds, the other one is 200, but it's a family thing. So it's a lot of fun at the farm. It's super fun. Everybody is laughing. They have their music. They bring their lunches.
Wow.
So like at midday, everybody's eating, and you can sit with them because I know them by now.
Yeah.
The same families, they come over every single year. And I always pay them double of what other farms pay.
Of course you do.
Since 2015, when we started Two Birds, it's impossible to survive with what they get paid, so I started double, and now that immigration has done, now we're lacking people
because of the caravan of people that are leaving,
are going to the
Latin
US.
America and going to the US, the southern borders of the US.
Yeah, so a lot of the young, especially young men, they left. And they are leaving because they don't have opportunities. It's not because they hate Guatemala or they don't want to be with their families. It has nothing to do with that.
Nobody wants to leave their home.
No, nobody. They leave their children, they leave their moms, their dads, nobody wants to do that. They would like, but I think it's only about the money. I truly think it's only about the opportunity to work and earn enough to buy a house, for example. It's just unbelievable to me that they don't even have $1,000 for the doctor, per se, for an operation, or going to the optometrist, dentists. They lack all of that. Most of the people at the farm have a hard time paying for their health expenses.
So it's very much whatever they earn, whatever they pick is what they earn. There's no security there. And is this something that they have done for generations? Like, is it the same way that producers is a generational thing? Coffee picking is a generational thing?
Yes. Yes.
Right.
And usually the people that pick wait until November, December to do it because it's extra money for school or for Christmas
Right.
or for the holidays, So that money usually it gets spent in the first month, like
Right.
the Christmas, New Year's, and the first 2 weeks in January before school.
And the whole family survives off that money, right?
Mm. Usually they have a second income.
Okay. Throughout the year.
Throughout the year. And usually the man, right? The man of the family has a full-time job.
Right. So,
and
go on.
The picking money is like their extra.
Right. It's their holiday money, their Christmas money, all of that kind of thing.
Yeah.
What is the flow-on effect for coffee producers like you?
The what? Excuse me.
What ends up happening? Because what it sounds like is that the availability of labor is going down.
Yes.
How does that then? I mean, it's obvious what some of the feedback loop is to you. Like, it's going to be harder for you to find labor. But what does that mean for coffee when it's harder for you to find labor?
I see a lot of farms struggling because you cannot have a coffee farm without picking, without the labor, especially November through January. Don't survive. There's no machine that is going to do it for you because Guatemala is not flat. So in Brazil, for example, they can pick with a machine because it's flat. But we don't have that. And I think we're struggling in Guatemala, all the farms. But I see it as also, but on the positive way, if you're gonna see this in a positive way, at least we're talking about it. And we're talking about people not having enough income. And I'm telling you, I'm not saying.
This episode of the podcast is brought to you by Mapper Forward's first on-demand workshop, How to Become a Coffee Consultant. Available now online for you to learn at your own pace with a certificate available upon completion. Click the link in the show notes to access today for just €50.
I feel like the prices of coffee shouldn't fluctuate that much. I mean, a farm cannot... 1 year you're gonna get $1.25 per pound. Next year it's gonna be $2.50, and the next year after that is gonna be $1.40. I mean, how do you do all this? How do you pay the right way or the right amount to the people? And also how and that is not even enough because you pay, for example, all the people at the farm have a contract with me. I did this 3 years ago. So we signed the contract because I started working like a normal farm in Guatemala with no guidance. I mean, the same thing that my dad did, my brothers, blah, 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 everybody did. But it doesn't work. It swear to you, it doesn't, to me, it's like
it's a broken model.
Yeah. Is totally broken, and the chain is broken from the beginning. And so what we did is we signed contracts with these people,
with the pickers.
The pickers now work for me full time.
I love this.
Yeah. So we changed the whole thing. We at the farm we changed the whole situation. So the whole family except for the children work at the farm.
Wow. And the children go to school?
Yeah.
Wow.
So and the moms, they only work part-time. So at noontime, they leave. They work from 7 to 12.
You're such an inspiration. Tell me, how has that changed their lives?
Oh my gosh, beyond. They don't. They tell me that I am so nice
They're
and
right.
so wonderful.
They're
But
right.
I'm just doing the right thing for them. But it should be everybody doing it.
And
Thinking
in a
about
world, where lots of people are not doing the right thing, when you find people who are leading with kindness,
they don't know what to do with it.
Yeah, I can understand that.
I mean, they hug me so much sometimes, and they are so appreciative of everything that sometimes it makes me a little uncomfortable, because they are so grateful that I talk to them and I listen, but that's how my dad was. You know, it's just that. I mean, that's how he was, and so for me, it's so natural. My brothers are the same. You know, we are getting involved with, because it's our house.
Well, and your boys are the same. Like,
yeah, my kids are the same.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about your business model in the next episode, but your boys lead that way as well. They're grown men, guys. They're not boys. They're grown men. I'm referring to them as boys because they're just such wonderful guys. They're the boys. But you can see that they were raised right. Just from, it's just so obvious that they were raised well from the way that they treat people. It's pretty inspirational. We're going to continue talking about, like, everything's going to be enmeshed as we, keep collecting the conversation throughout the next episodes. But in the next episode of this series, guys, we're going to focus on coffee prices. And this is why it's a really great place to move this onto the next episode, because we've started introducing the problem of coffee pricing. So we'll see you in the next episode, folks. Peace, love, and peanut butter. Have an amazing rest of your day. Thanks, friends. If you enjoyed this video, here's what you should check out next. Consider supporting Map It Forward on Patreon, and be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell before you leave.